Welcome to For Fuck's Sake Parenting. This is a podcast to discuss, life, parenting struggles, the joys of parenting, and ways to keep those wild children safe. My name's Hunter, and this is my co-host, Janae.
Hello.
Um,
We're trying to get these kids to adulthood alive. I've already come to terms with the fact that my kids will definitely need therapy growing up with me, but keeping them alive and safe is my greatest goal that I have been at for going on almost 12 years now. I've been at this over a decade.
that's amazing. I've only been at this for about 13 months.
Okay.
So you definitely have more experience, but there's, tons of things just that are just popping up now. He's trying to climb on things. He's opening the doors. Um, I have a son, his name's Michael. He recently learned how to open the front door.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and he loves to just be outside and he likes to walk around. But obviously that comes with a lot of safety concerns and yeah, so
He's at that mobile age. Do you walk around and follow him around all day because he's gonna fall? He's like my kids were kind of like drunk octopuses, just kind of like bobbling around the house. You never quite know when they're gonna fall, so you're constantly bending over. Your back hurts by the end of the day. Um, is he eating dirt yet outside?
oh,
And
definitely, yes.
yes.
Yes, loves the dirt. He likes to climb on things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm just constantly following him around trying to get him to stop opening the doors. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he learned probably 2 months ago how to open up the toilet,
Oh, okay.
and that was very fun. So, we had to get toilet locks
Yes.
because he can open the door to the bathroom and then
Mm-hmm.
he can also open the toilet, and I don't want him to drown in the toilet. So,
Right. Or throw all of your, stuff in the toilet.
yes. Yeah, or that.
Yeah, Gavin did like a mixing thing. He put a bunch of stuff in the toilet and got like a mixing spoon and mixed stuff all up. He was like making
Oh,
toilet soup.
toilet soup. Yes. That's so
I
gross.
love I love toilet soup.
Oh my gosh. Um, the other thing is the next thing that I have to get for my house besides the toilet locks is going to be like a front door gate. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have like the mesh gates that you hook onto the door so when they open it, like I can
Mm-hmm.
lock the door, but at what point is he going to learn how to unlock the front door?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
also like at what point like we have dogs and the dogs love him, but I have big dogs, so
Right.
they don't necessarily know their size.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I had to do is I put a gate in front of Michael's bedroom door. So he has like a safe dog-free area to play.
Right. Right.
And then that way, if I'm getting his bath ready and I need to like run out of the room or something for a second, like I can just he's safe in his room and I can run, I can grab his towel or whatever I need to and then come back
Mm-hmm.
and he's good to go. Um
Yeah, because you
but
don't realize how much trouble they can get into unsupervised for like just a few minutes. Like you go to the bathroom, you come back, and stuff has gone downhill quickly.
yes. Yeah. And honestly, I'm just glad that I don't have stairs in my house.
I
Like
always had
like
stairs. Yeah, we'll talk about the stairs later because I had some major stair fails in my parenting career.
I'm kind of excited to hear about those because it's he knows how to climb down into like our garage slash office has a step
Mm-hmm.
down
Mm-hmm.
and he used to just crawl down into it. And that was
Okay.
fine. He got a hang of that very quickly. It's not a big step, but now he's like, holding onto the wall and just like stepping up and just like walking very confidently through the house.
Right.
And it's getting a little chaotic.
And you've lowered the crib mattress, correct?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I put that down to the very last level.
Because I waited too long. I underestimated with my son. And one day I walk in and he's literally standing up, like looking over the crib, just like at any second could have just toppled out.
Oh,
So I for my twins after that, I realized that I need to lower it once they start like rolling over and like thinking about pulling up on something, because they go from that to like pulling up standing like quicker than you think.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like those big developmental milestones, they happen so rapidly,
yeah,
with just in a few weeks. You're like, oh, wow, he's sitting up. That's so fun. And then all of a sudden he's climbing.
right. Yeah. Or you think my kid can't do that yet. And then 2 days later, guess what? Your kid can do that now. You've never
Yes.
seen them do it before, but they've done it.
Yes.
That's totally true.
We used to have like whenever I would get diapers, I would kind
Hmm.
of like put the box in his room. And
Yeah.
then, I would unload it and like put it all away the next day or, later that day. And if he was playing in his room, he would immediately like crawl straight to the box, crawl on top of it, want to just like climb up it and then climb back
Mhm.
down, climb back up and climb back down. And
Yeah.
it's scary
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's fun to see how they grow like that. How,
Right.
they're starting to like use their bodies and know what they're doing and be
Right.
more confident in their movements and
Yeah.
not be, at least with my son, he can be kind of wary of like trying new things. Like he's
Hmm.
pretty cautious when he's doing things, but then he'll build a confidence in doing it, and that's
Hmm.
all he wants to do.
Right. Right. It's like laser beam focus. Like when they're
Yes.
walking, my son would just want to walk all day. And then I look at the baby monitor, he'd just be like walking back and forth, like in his like crib, like he was in jail, like
Right.
just marking off the time, right? Back and forth and back and forth. I'm like, he got 20,000 steps in his crib today.
Right.
It's just
The
incredible.
little cup, like mini
Yeah.
bars.
Yeah, it's like he's like, I've been in here for too long. She's being lazy today. So, yeah, but all the gear once they start to be mobile, you realize all of the ways that they can hurt themselves, and then all of the gear you then need to buy, which is sort of like when you first become pregnant, you're not thinking past like the cute onesies and like, oh, I get to dress them up. And I don't know if you can speak to this, but the overwhelmingness of when you're pregnant, realizing all of the things you need and maybe all of the things you don't need.
Yes. Oh my gosh. My my baby shower registry I dreaded it
Yeah,
because I would see like people on social media just being like, they have like the lists of like, oh, 5 products that I can't survive without. And then
right.
the next person would be like, here are the 5 products that I would never buy again. And
Right.
they're the same products. So I was like,
Right.
what do I need? What don't I need?
Right.
And, there were, obviously I could ask my friends who have had children, but then it just feels like the same, hit or miss. Like, what do I need and what don't I need? Because there
Right.
were some things that I bought that I've only used a few times. But then there's
Sure.
other things that that, for example, the like the diaper pails.
Hmm.
So many people said like, oh, don't get it, like it's not worth it. That thing saved my life. I had a C-section, so
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be lugging the trash out every day because I
Right.
couldn't, like my
Yeah.
husband could, but that's just he's helping me move around. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think we just stopped using it recently.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was one of the first of my friends kind of to get pregnant with my first child. And I knew immediately like I needed some like mom friends.
mhm.
So my goal, I was about 6 months pregnant. And my goal, I'm like, who do I know that has babies? And I didn't really know anybody in my inner circle. I had a friend that I went to college with, but I hadn't seen her in years, but I knew she lived locally. So like a weird stalker, I like randomly messaged her on Facebook, like, hey, how are you? Do you want to get together? And she's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a long time. And I basically like invited myself over to her house. Like really weird. But I'm like, I'm gonna like have a mommy friend by the end of the day. This is the goal, right? So I show up to her house, 6 months pregnant, knock on her door. She answers the door and she has a newborn baby and like a 2 or 3 year old at the time.
Mhm.
And so she kind of looks at me and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm pregnant. And she's like, oh, okay. She gives me a big hug. She's like, come here, come here. She's like, do you need help? I'm like, I need help. I need help. So I'm crying on her kitchen while her, 3-year-old is eating eggs and she's like feeding the newborn. She's got a boob out like within the first 10 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that has a baby. And so she's like, all right, we're going on a field trip. I'm going to take you to, I don't know what it was at the time, like Babies R Us or Bye Bye Baby. I can't remember which one it was. And she's like, I'm going to take you there and show you all of the shit that you don't need. Let's go. And she's like packing up the kids and we get in the minivan and we're driving there. And I instantly feel better because I'm like, all right, I'm going to have a mommy friend. So she takes me through the store and she's like, you don't need this and you don't need this and you definitely need this and Tylenol. You definitely need Tylenol. So she was so funny. And on the way home, she's like, we're going to Chick-fil-A because you need Chick-fil-A. As her kids are like barefoot playing in the playground. I'm eating fries, just pregnant. And it ended up that she is like my ultimate mommy best friend. And we have since been through all of the mommyhood journeys together. So that's super important to find your mommy tribe that you can call on a day when you're ready to kill yourself and or kill your child, or I'm a terrible mom today, and they talk you off the ledge. So
Right.
I think that's super important too. The first time you go to a baby store and you walk around and go, oh my God, I don't know what half of this stuff is and why do I need it?
Yeah. It's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's amazing though. Like it's so nice to have another woman kind of like take you under her wing and like
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
show you like, this is what you
Yeah.
need, this you definitely don't need. I
Yeah.
love that.
And I've spent some time with my friends after the fact that had babies. I'm like, all right, let me tell you what no one is gonna tell you, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. And it, you know what I mean? Like, this is what it's like to give birth. This is what it's like to breastfeed. This is what it's like on days where you just think you can't do it anymore. Like, I didn't brush my teeth today because my kid was everywhere,
Right.
You have those days
Yeah. I
or
remember
those months,
months, yes.
years, decades.
I had a friend who, when I got pregnant, she was like, start doing squats now. I was like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? Like,
Mm,
I mean, it was kind of different. I planned to give birth. You know, I wasn't planning on having a C-section. I was
mm,
planning to like, definitely medicated because that
mm.
I don't think I could handle it. But she was like, start doing squats or you're gonna regret it. Like, just you have to get your body ready to give birth. Like, start now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's just it's hard. It's hard. And I think too, after the fact, you're sleep deprived, the postpartum. So that's when you can have your house as baby proofed as possible, it's just one less thing that you have to think about in your sleep deprived, state.
Right. And I
So
think that's super important when you have more than one child. Like
mhm.
with the first child,
Right.
before baby proofing, you're all hands on deck
The
for the
one.
one baby.
Mhm.
And I think it's probably a lot easier to, keep track of the one baby than a toddler and a newborn. Because I
Yes.
think that's when the dangers are more prevalent because you're sleep deprived, you're trying to, look after this new
Yes.
alien form that you
Mhm.
made.
Yeah. Your attention is divided for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna have one child and then I messed up. I didn't mess up, but I thought, should I have another one? And then I finally worked up the nerve and then poof, you have twins. Like
Oh
now
my
you're
god.
having twins. And I was not mentally like ever prepared to have 3 kids. I never thought I was going to have 3 kids. That was never like in the cards. So it was sort of like parenting on steroids is kind of
Yeah.
what it felt like, going from 1 to 3. It was just the most chaos I've ever experienced in my life. And now when I just have one kid with me, I'm like, oh, please, you and your one baby. But when it's the first time around and that's all you know, it is really, really stressful because it's still all consuming. You know, you
Yeah.
still have to watch them all the time. But when you have multiple ones, they work together as a team against you.
Oh my gosh.
They like, like one will stand on the other one's back, and they work together to figure out how to get, the Cheetos that they want. They'll, make a twin train, it's just,
Yeah.
my girls will be like twin power. And I know that they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. So yeah. But I think I tell people if they're going to do one thing first, it's definitely the baby gates. Don't you think?
Yes. I think that is one of the first items that we got.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you had any like stair baby gate fails to this point, or have you come out unscathed up to this point?
Knock on wood.
Yeah, you
I
better.
have had no major bumps or bruises thus far.
Okay.
Like a
Well,
very hard yet
okay.
because I just know um because Michael has been such a laid back, quote unquote easy baby, not very fussy, wasn't colicky,
Mhm.
doesn't spit up. I know that in the next few years, like,
He's gonna
I
get you.
think all hell is gonna break
He's
loose.
gonna get you.
I am waiting for him to just be like reckless and chaotic. Like I've heard plenty of parents say, if you have an easy baby, you're gonna have a wild toddler. And I'm waiting for it. I
Yeah.
mean, he does like you know, we have these glass shelves,
Hmm.
had
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 them.
glass shelves that had just like our little like, trinkets or like
Mhm.
family little things on it. And he would just like laser focus straight to those shelves. And then
Yeah.
he would try to crawl up on it.
Hmm.
And he just wants to like sit under there and like crawl up and down it. So no, like, luckily we haven't had we've been pretty proactive with the baby proofing. As
Yeah.
soon as I see one danger, I'm like, "This is what I need, and I need to get it up now before it's a problem."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we
So
had we had stairs in all of our houses, and you need the gate on the bottom as much as you need it on the top. And we learned this the hard way. And I blame my husband because I love to do that. He's my favorite person to blame because he's very cool and laid back. And so he watches the children at a different level. And I'm type A, like what can go wrong? And if it can't go wrong, I'm going to figure out what can go wrong in my mind. So he was watching, we just had the one at the time. And I was at work actually at the time. I was doing princess dance camp with all of my princess dancers at the time. And Gavin, I guess Greg was in the kitchen, I don't know, eating whatever he eats, his Greg food, his peanut butter. And I guess Gavin started crawling up the stairs, and the stairs were carpeted at the time. And he started crawling up the stairs. And Greg went, "Ooh," and I guess it like startled him. So he like Gavin like turns around to look like, why is dad startled? And he like slides down about 3 or 4 stairs, and he gets like a rug burn, like all like from his nose down to his lip down to his chin. He has a full-on rug burn, which, in as far as injuries goes, is not that catastrophic, but it looks pretty bad.
right.
So Greg was supposed to bring him to my dance camp to have lunch with me that day, and to like let him play with the other kids. So Greg shows up and he's holding Gavin, and I think he was probably about 9 months at the time, and his face looks jacked up. It looks bad. And he walks in with this baby, and I would just went, what happened to him? I was so mad. I'm like, you can't let him crawl up the stairs. He's like, I don't know. And it's always the famous parenting line. I just turned my back for a second, and then poof, this happens.
Right.
So that was our downstairs baby gate fail. So word to the wise, the baby gates only work if you close them.
Yeah.
That's super important. Like, it's great that they're there, but you have to close them. It's like, get into the habit of closing them. And then with our twins, our baby gate fail happened at the upstairs of our stairs. And we have like a big loft area where we let the kids, just play. So Gavin was 5 at the time, and the twins were like little. I don't like, not really even crawling yet, little. So we were on the loft and they were playing in their like baby gym or whatever they did. And I, again, was getting ready for work, and I thought that Greg was watching them. Apparently, he had to go to the bathroom or do whatever men have to do in the bathroom for so long. So he wasn't watching them. So I'm putting on my makeup, and Gavin, my 5-year-old, comes running into the bathroom, and he says to me, one of the girls, because he can't tell them apart because I have identical twins and you cannot tell them apart. So he never called them by name. He would just say one of the girls. He now calls them, hey girl, hey girl, hey girl. So at the time he's just said, one of the girls is crawling down the stairs. And in that split second, I thought, they can't crawl yet. And I'm like, oh crap. So I run out, and I think it was Giselle. I want to say it was Giselle, but I'm not 100% sure. She was like on her belly 4 or 5 stairs down, just like with her arms out in front, like Superman, like on the stairs, just kind of like slowly sliding down the stairs. And she's crying, she's screaming. So I run down and I pick her up, and I go into the bathroom with Greg and I was like, your daughter just tried to jump down the stairs. And he's like, how did she get to the stairs? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if she like army crawled there, she rolled there, because she couldn't even crawl yet.
Right.
So yeah, so that was our other baby gate fail, where we had the baby gate, but we didn't close the baby gate. But luckily they were both pretty minor, but it was still a great reminder that every time, close the baby gate.
Yes, that's very important. That's terrifying.
Yeah. So I'm glad they're now at an age where I don't have to baby gate them. Although sometimes I wish I could lock them in their room, because now they're at the point where they just want to like mouth off at me. Gavin calls me cringe. He's like, you're so cringe.
Oh my gosh.
He's
That's
11.
an insult.
Yes. I'm cringe or I'm sus. He's like, that's so sus.
I
I
don't
didn't know it. I didn't know either. It means it's suspicious. Like, you're suspicious. That's sus. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you being suspicious about?
Just breathing is suspicious to him. Like,
How dare you?
he thinks everything I do is embarrassing. I love to like sing and dance around the house. I got my degree in musical theater. So I, put on little mini shows in my kitchen, and my girls, because they're little still, they think mommy is super entertaining. But Gavin thinks mommy is so embarrassing. And I'm like, Gavin, there's nobody here. Like, our house isn't bugged. Like, your friends at school aren't listening to mommy sing in her underwear. But during the quarantine, when I had to I don't want to say I had to homeschool him, but like the kids couldn't go to school, so we had to pretend like mommy could teach him stuff. So every day I would go in and I would be in my robe, and we would do, his assignments or whatever. And then at the end of the year, I said, oh, like, who's a better teacher, your teacher at the time or mommy? And he goes, oh no, I forget his teacher's name at the time, I'm blanking, is a better teacher. And I go, oh, why? He goes, because she wears pants.
Oh.
And I thought, well, he is right. I was not wearing pants, but I didn't realize that he like notice that stuff. But as they start to get older, they notice these things and then they will use it against you at a later date.
Oh man.
Just
Kids
so
are
you know.
funny though. Like that's hilarious. And it's only funny because it's not happening to me.
Right. It will. It will. I mean, it's like once they get to be older and they start talking, you'll realize stuff that comes out of their mouth. You'll be like, oh shit, that's me. That is me coming out of their mouth. Like I say that too. That's exactly what I would say. And it's sometimes you look in the mirror, it's like looking in a mirror and it's not so pretty.
Right.
You're like, don't be like that. Don't
Well,
do
even
that.
now he like I can watch him just like mimic like things that we're doing,
Yeah.
or even like saying,
Mm-hmm.
like he's in that stage where he's trying to like form little words. Like he
Right.
says, like he'll say mama, dada. He says Bubba for one of our
Mm-hmm.
dogs, and then he started calling our other dog Lala.
Mm-hmm.
And just like mimicking sounds is
Yeah.
pretty impressive, and like mimicking actions. Like if
Right.
our dogs, they're not the best behaved, so they'll sit and like beg while
Mm-hmm.
he's eating, and I'm constantly like pointing and telling them to go lay down, and he started like pointing to tell the dogs to go lay down.
That's
But
funny.
it's just so cute and funny how like I don't realize how much I do it until I see him do it. And then I'm like,
Right.
"Oh man, I got to
You're like, I
gotta
totally
do
do that.
better."
Does he say any words like wrong yet? Like wrong in a funny way?
No, not yet. He's, simple phrases.
Okay. Yeah.
He
I
does
love
some
it when
sign
kids say
language,
stuff
which is
wrong.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Gavin used to, he couldn't say like the word truck, which was unfortunate because he loved trucks.
Mhm.
It came out differently, like with an F instead of with a T.
Yeah.
So instead of big truck, it was big fuck. And it was so funny that I didn't correct him as much as I probably should have. And it went on for far too long, but it was so funny.
Listen, okay. So there's two things that Michael does. So one that's super cute is when we like try to get him to blow a kiss, he will like pat his ear instead.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost like he doesn't know where his mouth is, or he doesn't understand the concept of like, "Mwah." He just goes
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
So that's super cute. And the other thing that, oh man, we really like, me and Mike have to stop laughing about it, but it's so hard not to,
Mm-hmm.
because like, okay, so if we tell him no for whatever it is, like, no, you can't feed the dogs at the table, like, no climbing on that, or like, that's dangerous. He will say no and shake our heads. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, he just looks at us and starts dancing. And he goes like,
He's like, if
and
I can make them laugh, then I can continue to do whatever it is I want to do,
that's
right?
exactly what it is. Like he started to like climb behind the couch the other day. He was like, no, Michael, that's dangerous. And he just looks at me like dead in the eyes, starts to smirk and goes, and, and
Mm-hmm.
like dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's so hard to like keep a straight face and like try to be serious because he's so cute.
Yeah.
Like
They can manipulate you. I mean, they really figure that out fast. Like if when I do this, mom loves it. So I'm gonna do this because I know that I'm in trouble or,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
mhm.
And then when you have a bunch of them, there's that competition. And all of my children, especially the twins, will say, you love so and so more than me. And it breaks my heart because I really don't love any of my children more. There are days that I like some of them better than the other. And
Right.
I say, I always love you the same. But sometimes when you're making a bad choice and your sister isn't, she gets praised and you don't. So, but it's just that competition, the dynamics between, and I know all siblings have that, but when you have like identical twins, it's like it's really intense. The
Yeah.
my sister's better at this than me, and they notice and they want to be alpha dog. They want to be on top. So
Right. They want the most praise and the most attention.
yeah. Yeah. And you try to keep everything. I try to keep everything fair. Like I found myself doing crazy stuff. Like if I'm giving them like a snack and I'm going to give them a few pieces, like I'm counting out M&Ms and I'm trying to get the colors evenly separated and matched because I know that this is going to be, she got more red ones and I got more blue ones or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to have done it wrong. So then they think that everything in life is fair and it's not. So it's just wait till he starts talking. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for him to say absolutely not when I say no.
Yeah.
It won't
Yeah.
just be a little dance. He'll come back with something. The other
Yeah.
day, he was playing with his dad in the other room, and he came into me and was like, he just said, "Hi, Dada," as clear as day. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we find him, like, he will say things and do things for one of us, but not the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Like he has this thing with each parent.
yes. For example, like, he was doing high fives for a while. Like, I'd be like, high five, and he'd, hit my hand and do a high five. And then Mike was trying to get him to do, give him a high five, and he just wouldn't do it. He would just look at him and act like he didn't know how to give a high five or like what he was asking. So
Right.
that's kind of funny, like it's interesting to see like the different dynamics between parents too.
Yeah. And your kids will behave differently with you versus, like your husband or grandma. There are some things that the kids know they can get away with Greg that they know they can't do with me or like with my mom. And they learn that so early on. They know what they can get away with each person and what they can't.
Yes.
So, yeah. And they always say dada first, which is so frustrating.
Not Michael.
No. What did he
Uh-uh.
say first?
He said mama.
No, you have
Oh,
the only child in history. Congratulations.
thank
I've
you.
never heard of it ever, ever. It's always dad, 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 dad. And it's like, yeah, because he worked so hard to get you into this world, right? Like he did all of the heavy lifting here.
Yeah, he did so much
Oh,
work for this.
I was so bitter. My twins, of course, both started dad, dad, and they're both like dad, 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 dad. I'm like, thanks, ladies. Thanks. Yeah.
This was supposed to be
Um,
my girl team.
I know, but um, yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
it's super fun to watch them grow up and but it can be super frustrating, with the day-to-day trying to keep them on track and safe and watching them make the decisions that they make. And you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I still
Right.
say that to my 12-year-old. I'm like, what are you thinking right now? What possessed you to do this?
Right. And honestly, I just think that they don't think.
Yeah.
Like
It's
they I don't think that they have the ability. Maybe, I mean, older kids, obviously they have the ability to think through their actions, but the little ones, they're just so impulsive.
yeah.
That those intrusive thoughts, they always win. They will always go with their first instinct,
Yeah.
like
Well, Gavin like
second
swallowed a
throw.
marble when he was like 7. And I'm like, I was like, he's like, I swallowed something. I'm like, what did you swallow? And he's like, a marble. I was like, show me what they look like. And it was a pretty big marble. And I looked at him, I go, why did you have it in your mouth? You're 7. He's like, I don't know. I thought it would taste good. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just when you think like, oh, my kid is done with like this phase, like putting everything in their mouth phase, they will surprise you
I
with
can't
what they
wait
choose
for
to do.
that phase to be over. But honestly, it sounds like I have a lot more time with the
Yeah.
everything in the mouth phase.
Yeah. And they're still all to this day, they're always putting their fingers in their mouth. And I'm like, it's like they're trying to get sick. They want to get sick and bring it home and get me sick.
Yes.
It's and Michael goes to daycare now. Is he bringing home the daycare germs yet?
We're all like just recovering from the plague.
Which
So
plague did you have this year?
I don't know. But
Oh, okay.
so he started daycare last week, like last Monday. And
Did
he's
he make it a full week before he got sick?
well, he wasn't feeling great towards the end of the week.
Yeah.
So, um, I knew that he was like getting something, but it wasn't too bad. And then over the weekend, like we were all down and out. Like I could not, I had he had a fever. I guess
Mhm.
technically it wasn't even a fever. It was like, 100, I think it was 100.4.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had a fever. Mike had a fever,
Mhm.
and we're still like, I think I kept him home from daycare on Monday, and he was feeling much better Tuesday. But Mike is still working from home
Mhm.
because he's a man,
Yeah.
and colds always hit the men harder than the women.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a different version they get.
yes, they get 2.0
The main
version.
version. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
um, and yeah, I'm still sick. I'm still coughing. So, it's been, week 2 of daycare has been brutal. like, like
Yeah,
we're
you're gonna
all so
they're,
sick.
he's gonna bring home everything and you're gonna get everything. And it's just gonna go on like that for a long time. But eventually they will have immunity to things. We had something this year that was a fresh type of hell that I didn't know I could get. And kids get it in daycare a lot. It's called hand, foot, and mouth. Are you familiar with this?
I've only heard about it. I've never I don't know enough about it.
Okay, well,
So tell
it's
me
a
about it.
spawn of it's a spawn of Satan. Okay,
Oh,
and
great.
my kids have had a lot of nasty stuff. Right, I've
Uh-huh.
been at this a while, but they brought this home, and it's basically little like bump blister sores. You get them on your hands, your feet. You can get them in your mouth. You can get them on your face, like around your mouth, and you can get them on your private parts. So the girls got it on their hands and their feet, and they seemed like relatively unaffected. Like they were still doing their crazy stuff. And I didn't think that adults could get it. That is wrong. Adults can get it because Greg and I got it, and I had never had it before. And I was running like 104 fever. I had the bumps on your feet especially hurt like when you walk. Greg got it all over to his face, to the point when he went to work to see clients, I'm like putting concealer on his face to try to cover up these weird looking bumps because they're disgusting looking.
Right.
And it lasts at least 2 weeks. These bumps last, and they itch, and they're disgusting. And I've read that when you get it as an adult, it's like a much worse version than the kids get.
Right.
Because the kids are like at gymnastics class, like flipping around, and I'm like hobbling around my house because I don't want to put any weight on my feet. I'm just like, what is this? It was so disgusting. It was
So
disgusting.
how is it spread? How do I avoid this? Because that sounds awful.
Well, it's pretty much like can be passed like when they touch you with the blisters on their hands, when they touch surfaces, it's like highly contagious. And I think it's one of those things that's a little bit like chickenpox. Like if you get a bad enough version, you won't get it again. But I had never had it before.
Right.
So I can't tell you how to not get it because I was not successful in that. And, they want to kiss you and they got the sores on their mouth, and you're
Right.
just like, you don't want to be like, get away from me. You look terrible. But my girls are like, the blowing the kisses is not going to work. If I'm putting them to bed, they want to be like all up in my face. I better kiss them. Otherwise I don't love them. Like I almost just give up when my kids get sick. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get sick. I just accept my fate. And with the twins, when they were little, if one of them got it, the other one was definitely going to get it. So I tried to make them get it as soon as possible. So I'd have the sickness last less. So I'd be like, here, put your sister's pacifier in your mouth. And I try to like germ them up because I know it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Like it just prolongs it.
Right.
So yeah, kids are gross.
They really are. So there's this little girl at daycare that has been making Michael's days a lot better. She is adorable, like just so
Mhm.
happy, so excited to see literally anybody.
Yeah.
And her and Michael are friends. So like I guess last week sometime when I went in, I was putting Michael down near her and I looked at her and like the snot on her face.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
ew, but
Yeah.
okay. I know it's gonna happen. Like I was like trying to mentally prepare, but
Yeah.
it's gross. It's really
Yeah.
nasty. And then, lo and behold, a few days later, Michael comes home like sick. I guess
Mhm.
it's technically just like probably a cold of some sort. I'm not really
Yeah.
sure. Um,
Yeah.
but it's gross.
Yeah.
Kids are gross. He's upset, so he's like kind of crying and like I'm trying to get the snot out of his nose and he's trying to like wipe his face with his hands and then like he's like wiping it into his mouth and I'm
Yeah.
just like
You got
it's
the dried snot all over the cheeks and like
ew,
the,
yeah.
the snot bubbles that they're blowing
Mhm.
and then they sneeze in your mouth and it's super fun.
Yeah. Ugh, so much fun. I do miss him during the day though. So
Yeah. I don't. Is that wrong to say? I
no,
when the bus comes to pick up my kids, it's like such a beautiful sight to see that beautiful yellow bus take them away from me for the next 6 hours. And I walk back into my quiet house, and it's the only time my house is ever quiet is when they're at school. And then, but the bus always brings them back every day without fail. They bring them back to me. And then they come off
technically
the
that's
bus
kind of a
and
good thing.
somebody's always upset. There's always one of them that's mad about something. Somebody's crying because somebody looked at them on the bus, or this one touched them, or this one wouldn't let them use their fidget spinner, or it's just bus shenanigans. Like, I don't know if you rode the bus when you were growing up, but the bus is like Lord of the Flies, like survival of the fittest, right? On the bus, because they got the big kids, they got the little kids. The bus is ugly.
Yeah. I definitely rode the bus as a kid. Um it was yeah, it's a very, very distinct hierarchy on the bus. Like
Yes.
the big cool kids sat in the back of the bus,
Right.
and then the middle was like, every man for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just trying to survive, like just trying to get home.
Yeah. Like, just get me home. And the kids' school is like 1.2 miles away from our house. Like, we just qualify for the bus. If you're over a mile, they'll send a bus.
Oh wow.
But it's so glorious because you don't have to sit in school pickup line, which
I
is
was just going to say that. I know. I remember you always telling me about the school pickup line when we were in the office.
2 hours per day I spent sitting in the school pickup line. And a lot of bad things can happen when you're stuck in your car for 2 hours a day,
Yeah.
especially when you drink as much coffee as I drink. But that is for another day. I can't tell you all of my embarrassing stories the first time we do this.
I can't wait to hear about the car pickup line. Maybe we
That
might
could
have
be a
to
whole
talk about that tomorrow.
that could be a whole episode of car pickup line stories, because I have quite a few. But once we moved here, we finally get the bus, and it was the most beautiful thing. When my real estate agent was showing me the house, she's like, "Oh yeah, and the bus pickup is right around the corner." And I went, "Excuse me?" She's like, "Yeah, the bus." I was like, "Wait, the bus comes?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Sold, sold.
So
Take all of my money for this house. The bus comes."
that's amazing. I remember as a kid, like I would ask my mom all the time, like, can you please just like drive me to school? Please drive
Mhm.
me to school. And no, nope, get
Mhm.
on the bus. Get on
Yeah.
the bus.
Yeah. It's such a, sitting in the school pickup and drop off lines is the worst ever. It's terrible. So I love the bus. I'm really nice to the bus driver. I buy him presents all the time. His name is Mr. Quinn. And at Christmas, he drives the bus and he dresses up like the Grinch, like
That's
driving the bus. He's fabulous. So I hear him get on on like the intercom when they get in. Sit down, kids. Why you guys can't go until you're sitting down? And I'm like, oh my God, bless his soul. They need to pay him more money.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for joining me today. And tune in next week. We'll be speaking about sleep deprivation in the newborn or early parenthood, and all of the joys that come with that.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Yes, it will.
Thanks, Hunter.
Thank you.